You said.
I said, well, the first thing that we're taught from the mosques as well is that everyone has different interpretations of the Quran, and that any translation to any language will never be literal, because it can never be translated from one language to another. That's how language works. So
Does that mean there's no true interpretation? Not one.
exactly, there is no true interpretation, which is why when we're taught in Islam, there are different types of Muslims. Everything is based on your intention. That's the fundamental rule of Islam. It's called Aniya. I'm still learning.
Okay, so Ibn Kathir is one of the most recognised, as you'll agree, one of the most renowned Saudi scholars, yeah?
I can't comment on that. I don't know anything about.
Okay. Well, what he says that the word mischief, yeah? His interpretation of what mischief means is not believing in Allah. Yeah? Now, if you take
That's his interpretation.
Okay.
See, but that's what I'm saying. That's his interpretation. No, that
But
is his
he's one of the
interpretation.
most recognised followed, Ibn Kathir.
But just like that, you're one of the most recognised British
Yeah.
nationals.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that something that you will interpret within
Is right.
the fundamentalism
But
of British. Someone else will.
if what he says wasn't right, yeah, or
Yeah.
Muslims had a problem with it, you wouldn't have it here, be buying it. It wouldn't be for sale in all the Muslim bookshops across this country. Mosques wouldn't be promoting it, which they are. Yeah. His interpretation of mischief
Yeah.
is being non-Muslim, which means
532. For
For
that cause we decree
discreed
for
of
the
the children.
of Israel
Whoever
that
kills a
whoever
human
being, for other than murder or corruption in the earth, it shall be as if he had killed all mankind. Who saves the life of one, it shall be as our messengers came unto the world with clear
the
proofs.
proofs of Allah. So so you read that, yeah, and that sounds
Yeah.
great, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Right? Now read 530. Now read the next verse. The only reward for those who make war upon Allah and His Messenger and strive after corruption in the land. So corruption is mischief. Yeah. Now this man here.
Yeah.
Right, keep reading. So corruption is mischief will be that they will be killed and crucified, or have their hands and feet, alternative sides, cut off, or they will be expelled out of the land. Yeah. So basically, now you're not taking that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you're not taking, and in fact, majority of Muslims are not taking that. So my point is, we need to stop this, and to stop it, we need to understand this. And as soon as I try and talk about this or
Yeah.
Muhammad, people go mad.
People do go mad, but one thing as well, when you're trying to stop something like that, you got to look at statistics on what are the common, not just within Islamic extremism, with terrorism overall, what are the most common,
reasons for it. What do you mean
not
by
reasons, what are the most common factors you see with these people? Most people are young men who are from vulnerable and deprived backgrounds. That does not mean.
The two men who drove the car into Glasgow Airport were doctors.
They were
Many of the
doctors.
people have been highly educated and highly wealthy.
Exactly, they
They're not-
have
it's not
been,
like- yeah.
but most have come from these backgrounds. Then you've got to find out what is getting in common with these people who are being deprived. They don't have resources to fix the problems that they're dealing with when they're in these vulnerable situations.
Okay, so if that
Right.
was the case, how come loads of non-Muslim, say like little young black youth who are from the most deprived backgrounds in the
Yeah.
country, the most abused, the most
Yeah.
targeted by police and all these things, how come they're not blowing anyone up?
That's the thing, it doesn't all lead to extremism, it will lead to different sorts of criminal activity and different sorts
I'm
of...
saying it's this. That's what my
You're
thing-
saying it's this.
No, in fact,
saying it's...
No, I'm not saying it's
it's
this.
been-
All the men that do it say it's this. All the men that go and commit acts of terrorism say it's this. They say it's Mohammed. So I'm simply saying, okay, we have 22,000 British in Britain. We have 22,000 Muslims on a watch list, yeah, on a
Right.
terror watch list. That's a small army. Yeah, that's no longer about 1, 2, 5, 6. This
Being
is
on a watch list doesn't mean you're guilty of being a
no,
terrorist. though.
it doesn't. But say the 3,000 watch list, the top 3,000 people on that watch list, the most at threat, the most risk. Yeah, the last 4 terrorist attacks weren't even from people in the top 3,000. They're from people who weren't even being watched outside of that.
Exactly, which shows that there's a fault in the way that we're
It
dealing
shows
with
there's
it.
too many.
It shows
there's
that there
too
is a fault in how we're dealing with it currently. And I personally know people who are getting involved in dealing with terrorism and are helping the government. Obviously, I can't say who they are.
Say what do British Muslims really think? The Channel 4 documentary. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't.
66% of British Muslims said they would not report on another Muslim who was getting involved with ISIS. That's
Okay.
a lot. 66%. There's 2 million Muslims in this country who would not report. Yeah? That. Imagine what that's. So and in fact, it should be like it for yourself because even in your.
And that is an issue, and that is something that
Massive.
we need working on.
But
And
then-
it's
but then-
similar.
but
It's
then-
similar to rape culture.
Then
where,
if you take verses from this book,
yeah,
it says that you cannot side with the non-Muslim over the Muslim. Yeah, there's certain verses in here which I try and make sense of all
Well-
of it. Why won't they report on terrorism? Well, because then they're kafar.
But then it also kind of counteracts with where if you're helping one human, it's like you've helped the whole of humanity. That doesn't exclude anyone who's non-Muslim.
Who would you vote for on May 23rd?
I can't vote.
You can't vote.
That's the thing. That's what also makes a huge issue in this community is that so
How
many
old are you?
people. I'm 19. So many people here can't vote. So that means not everyone that lives here is being represented.
Well, we're certain from everyone. Like the reception I've received in this town, I've been to towns all over for last
Yeah.
week. Yeah, I'm going to continue to. I get an amazing reception. Yeah?
Okay.
An amazing reception. So that should send a message to people, especially on censorship, on the issues I talk about. And I don't hate Muslims. Some of the best lads I met growing up in Luton were Muslim. Did you say you lived in Luton?
Yeah, I lived in Luton.
Where'd you live?
I lived near Dunstable.
Oh, did you? Out of Luton, that is. The back,
Near
near the Saints area. Near Chorney School.
more, yeah,
Yeah.
near that.
Yeah.
You know where Kingsway is?
Yeah, Kingsway.
Yeah,
My friend lives there.
Okay.
Brothers. Muslim brothers. Razwan, Imran.
Right.
Family of them.
My
Asmats.
family are there.
Your family are there?
Yeah.
They'll know their family. The Asmats. They were my best friend. And he died, I couldn't even go to his funeral because of my beliefs. Not because of, because of my beliefs, because a lot of the Muslims would have been upset. I didn't hate him, I loved him.
Yeah.
But I dislike this. It doesn't mean I hate you, I dislike this.
You dislike this, you've got every right to dislike it. But then spreading the hate
What hate?
within, that's the thing, but when you speak about specific verses, give your interpretation of it, you're pointing it at us Muslims and saying that these are your actions that are spreading these beliefs, but they're the beliefs that you've interpreted, not us.
No, they're not. They're the views that the Muslims who are killing people and murdering people have interpreted.
That's what they've interpreted, but that's another issue that we need to be working
But
on.
I'm not the one spreading the hate, it's them. I'm
They're
talking
the
about
ones.
what they're doing. So I'm
Yeah.
talking about, they've just killed someone, they've said it was
But if
because
you
of
want to
this.
if you want to counteract their actions, you could be saying this is what they're believing. Doesn't mean I believe it.
didn't say
This
that.
is what they are believing.
If you can
How
find-
can we prevent other young youths from believing these same things? Look at who it is that they're radicalizing. Who is it that they're recruiting? Muslim youth. But then you
Most
have.
people get killed by Muslims.
But just like how Muslims are being hated now. Did you
what
say
hate?
your mother was Irish?
No blacks,
Just like
no dogs, no Irish.
exactly
I
the
know.
Irish. Quite a while back, like everyone knows, the Irish weren't looked at great either.
No.
They were called terrorists. They were blamed for so many of the IRA events.
Yeah, my mum used to get
But-
stopped at the airport. But I
I wouldn't call your mum.
But
I wouldn't say that your mum is.
But because of that, that didn't radicalise me to go and blow shit up. That did, hearing these stories, because we hear all this all the time, that the reason this is because of the way the police are acting, and look, we always get told you're further going to radicalise. How many people are still blowing stuff up because their parents got bad treatment?
Yeah.
No one. But then we're told this constantly from the Islamic community. Oh, you'll further radicalise people if you do that, you'll upset, and if you radicalise them, they'll get angry and then they'll go and blow stuff up. It's like, what? What?
Right.
They'll
Okay.
become-
I'm not
they'll
going to
become
say.
extreme.
I'm not going to say you're further radicalizing them.
Am I the reason you get stoned every week now? Build up integrity, got you texting, emailing me, wanting me to feel with you. Baby, just face reality, move on.
Sometimes it's hard to face reality.